What's up, Wake? My name is Trevor. I am the student pastor here at Stone Creek. And look, things are looking a little different for you and I. Church looks a little different for you and I. We've been affected by this thing called coronavirus, or maybe COVID-19 for you professionals. But life looks really different right now. Some of us have been affected in a marvelous way, some in a small way, some we feel like we haven't been affected at all. But I can say this, some of us have been out of school, and some of us have been out of toilet paper. And if that is you, please DM us. We want to help you stay clean and pure in your spiritual lives, but also in your physical life. So hit us up if you need help. And I'm so serious, but in all seriousness, there is this thing that has hit us, and it's making our ministry look a little different. We used to meet within the four walls of a building, but I still believe we can have church. I still believe we can utilize social media, that we can utilize online. We can do these things and spread the gospel. Mark 16:15 says to go out into all the nations and preach the gospel. Unfortunately, currently, right now, you can't bring people to Wake. But what you can do is bring Wake to other people. You can share our links, you can share our profiles, our YouTubes, our IGTVs, whatever we post on Instagram. You can share those things and still invite people into Wake, or invite Wake into their homes and into their lives. What's even better about it is just not a one-time thing. It's not a 1 hour event. It's just not a 2 hour event. It's something that can be shared throughout. Regardless, you can go back and look at our messages. You can go back and see things that have impacted your life and share it with other people. We can create disciples in different ways. So although this may seem as an obstacle, we're going to choose to see it as an opportunity. And if I can be honest, we didn't see this coming. Our team wasn't planning, hey, the coronavirus is going to show up in 2 weeks. Let's change what Wake looks like. That's not something we were thinking about. That's not something we were planning. That's not even something we were expecting. We didn't even imagine that this would be happening right now currently. But because it is, we know this. God was still in control. God was and is in control of all of this. Nothing has changed. He's still on the throne. So what we can rest assured in this and trust in this is that God has a plan out of this. In Ephesians 3:20, it says, "Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think or even imagine, according to the power within us." We didn't ask for this. We didn't even think on this. And it was beyond our comprehension, if I can be honest. But God knew about this very moment. And sometimes in order for God to do what we don't expect, we may have to be put in positions we didn't expect to see coming. Sometimes when we see God operate best is when we're put in positions that we weren't expecting to be in. Some of us may not know we need healing until we're actually sick. Some of us may not know that we need a miracle until we're actually begging for God to do something. So now that we're in this opportunity, now we're in this moment, we're able to see God do beyond what we can think, ask, or even imagine. That reminds me of Abraham when God called him out to go beyond the walls of what he knew, to go out beyond the walls of his father's household, to go beyond the walls of his country, to explore a land he did not know. God asked him to go beyond the walls, and I believe God is asking us to go beyond the walls. And those beyond the walls that I see in our lives and what is going on in the world is one beyond the walls of control. Look, I have 2 kids. Some of you guys may know this, some of you don't. I'm married. I know I look real young, but I have 2 kids and another one on the way. I have a beautiful daughter named Nora and another beautiful daughter named Shiloh. And to be honest, they are crazy. They drive us insane, but they're the love of our lives, but they drive us insane. And oftentimes, to keep them in control, we have this little thing called like a playpen or a baby gate or baby jail, whatever you want to call it. We have something we put our kids in because they go crazy. So we're like, hey, we're going to put them in this little play bin and let them be. But we know when they're there, they're comfortable, that there's nothing that's going to hurt them. We don't put anything there to hurt them, but we do it to control them. We do it to say, hey, we're allowed to do X, Y, Z. Kelsey can go paint her nails. I can go play video games, which I don't play video games, but I could play something. I could write, I could read, I can do something while I know that my kids are being in control. But something happened one day. When I was at work, Kelsey called me and was like, Trevor, I need you to get home now. And I'm like, okay, I'm in a meeting, but I'll try. So I drove home as quickly as possible, left as quickly as possible. And what did I come home to see? My kids were out of that little playpen. They busted out. And they were having a grand old time. Shiloh, believe it or not, took off her diaper and started flailing it everywhere. There was poop on the floor, hardwood floors, thank God for that. There was also poop on the walls. Nora was singing as loud as she possibly can. And I look at my pregnant wife, and she just breathes in, breathes out, eyes red, teary. And what did I do? I just got something to clean the poop up. And we started one by one. We had lost control. And sometimes when we feel like we lose control, things get chaotic. I just want to remind you today, we're never in control. Sometimes we feel like we're in control because we're in comfortable situations, we're in comfortable places. We often are surrounded by things we like, things we love, and we're like, oh, things are great, this is cool. But the moment things get out of our control, we realize how chaotic things really are. But I just want to remind you, God never commanded us to be in control. He commanded us to bring his kingdom here. So sometimes things will happen that we can't control, like coronavirus. Maybe for you, your family may be going through a divorce that you can't control. Maybe for you, you're going through some things personally that you can't control. Things are happening in this world and we're realizing we are not in control. God never asked for us to be in control. He asked for us to have self-control, to make sure we're not beating people up when they steal our food, or if I see my daughter throwing poop, not to just go crazy on her. No, I can have self-control. You can have self-control. But we have to realize this. God is in control. He's only asked us to bring the kingdom of God here, to bring the kingdom of Jesus here. We're not in control. So one thing we need to step out beyond the walls is this thought that we are in control, because it's totally false. The second thing is beyond the walls of our feelings. This ties into the beyond the walls of control. Studies show that anxiety, depression, most things that we suffer through is because we feel like we're not in control. And what's crazy is our feelings sometimes tell us what is true. But let me tell you some truth. Our feelings are not necessarily true. Our feelings are real, but they're not truth. For instance, some days I wake up and I feel like it should rain. Some days I wake up and I feel like it should be sunny outside. But my feelings don't dictate what actually happens. Or for you, you may feel like McDonald's is the best hamburger, where somebody else may say Burger King is better. For some of you guys may feel like Adidas is better. The truth is Nike is always better. That's the truth. Let me just put that there, sign a period dot on the end of that. Nike is better. But I feel like Nike is better. But that's not truth. That's more so of an opinion. That's more so what I feel. Oftentimes when we get caught in our anxieties, oftentimes when we get caught in our anger, oftentimes when we get caught in depression or sadness, what's happening around the world, what's happening in your life, maybe your parents are going through a divorce and you begin to sink into a sadness. Maybe you lost connection with friends. Maybe because you feel like you're not here at Wake, you're losing a sense of, man, this feels wrong, this feels terrible. Maybe you're hearing your parents talk about their 401k may not look so well in a couple of years. They're not sure of what their career may look like. So you hear these feelings and you feel like this is right. You feel like this is truth. I just want to remind you today that our feelings are real, but they're not truth. Let me shed some light on what the truth is. Here's truth for us. We know in God's word, he said he will never leave us nor forsake us. Truth that you and I are sons and daughters of God, and if he takes care of the earth, if he takes care of the birds, how much more will he take care of? This truth we know, that God has told us to be strong and courageous, for he is the Lord our God, that he fights our battles for us. We know these things. That is the truth, but oftentimes we have truth here and we put our feelings here. What I want for us to do, Wake, is to allow our feelings and acknowledge our feelings and see what's going on, but then allow truth to change how we feel. Another thing is beyond the walls of a building. Man, if I can be honest, like I said, none of us saw this coming. But this building doesn't make us who we are. Jesus does. We get to spread the gospel outside the four walls of this church. Because if I can be honest with you, the church isn't buildings. It isn't man-made. The church is made by the hands of God. The church is you and I. We are the church. We can be the church in a greater way. Sometimes we say we go to church, which is cool. A church can be the four walls, but let me remind you, the church was never supposed to be locked in the four walls. It wasn't supposed to be something that was contained or controlled. That's a place where we go. But the church is made with the hands of God, not with the hands of men. And it's you and I. We are the church. So what this will look like for the next couple of weeks, maybe 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks, I'm not sure. But what the future looks like for Wake is we're going to continue to be the church. We're going to continue to shed light and be the light. And I want to read this passage in Matthew 5:13-16. This is the Message version. It says, "Let me tell you why you are here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. But if you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage." Here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors of the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand so that you can be on top of a hilltop. Shine. Be generous with your lives by opening up to others. You'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. We, Wake, and whoever is watching online, we will continue to be the light of the world. We will continue to be the salt of the earth. We will move beyond the walls of understanding that, hey, we're not in control. We will move beyond the walls of our feelings, and we'll move beyond the walls of the four walls of this church, this building. God is calling us to more, and we're going to step into the beyond. Because this looks different, because ministry looks different, doesn't mean church will look different. We're going to continue to have church. We're going to continue to spread Jesus, and we're going to continue to be the salt and the light of the world. Thank you guys for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday. Love you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to tune in to our Instagram Live tonight, March 18th at 6 p.m. And if you haven't yet, make sure to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us on YouTube at Stone Creek Wake as we continue to put out more content for you guys and for us to interact. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.